Hello guys and welcome back to Let's Build a Steampunk City episode 5. Today we're building the fortress and continuing our market district onto the next platform. As I said last week's episode, we only had 3 buildings for our market, and that's just not a big enough marketplace for our Steampunk City. So right now what I'm outlining is going to be the fortress, and all the remaining area that's going to be highlighted in green is going to be where we're going to put the rest of our market buildings. They're going to be the same sort of theme that we had last week with these structures that look like houses, where only the top of the building actually functions as the house and the bottom of the building will be the storefront where the merchants will sell their goods. In total, this part of the market district will house 5 buildings, 2 long ones with 3 shorter ones, which will just be cut off versions of the 2 long ones just to save time. Now this fortress here is going to be the primary bastion of defense for our steampunk city. This structure is where the war room is going to be, where all the generals can plan military movements and strategies, where some guards will live, and will also house all the artillery batteries. The lower part of this fortress will be symmetrical on all sides, so I will only be building and showing off the one side. So for the bottom part of the fortress, I decided to go with a column theme that is very different from the ones that you've seen in the Desert City build or the Clock Tower build that we just did last week. These are 3 wide instead of the traditional 2 wide that we do in the other builds, and that's because I wanted these columns to seem imposing. You know, this building is supposed to be a fortress. It's supposed to be able to take a couple of hits from, artillery fire or cannons, and so I wanted a bulky column. So now I'm just designing the interior of the walls behind the columns. I wanted some windows so you can see light through it, but this is a fortress, glass is easily shatterable, so I decided to go with iron bars instead, which will still achieve that window effect but make it look more sturdy, more strategic instead of just glass. And then moving on to the next section, I went ahead and put in crenellations along the edges, so you can tell this is actually sort of a castle defensible building that the soldiers can hide behind these crenellations and return fire to invading forces without getting shot themselves. Now moving on to the next section, where I begin to outline what will be sitting on top of the foundation of our castle fortress. So moving on to the top part of the castle, I begin to outline the 4 structures that will be sitting on top of it. There's 2 of them that mirror each other, which will be housing 2 cannons on each of them, and will be facing different directions. The smaller blue square will be a tall chimney that will ventilate steam to sort of stick with that steampunk theme. And then the largest square/circle structure in the back will be our large cannon that will be able to rotate and be able to shoot down entire fleets with its large cannon. So with the main structure of it finished, I begin to add the cannons. They're the same rotating cannon theme I did on the steampunk airship a while back. Same exact design, you get the little fence in the center to sort of act as a reticle so the people using the cannons can tell, and I just simply copy and paste it over to the other side. And now we begin work on the chimney. I said it right that time. As for the design of the chimney, it's going to very closely resemble the chimneys we have in that the far back right where the factories are, except for this lower part, which I want to add a sort of balcony to it, so gunners that may be defending the castle can come out to this balcony like sharpshooters and shoot any invaders. I'm just adding some detail around the lower base part until I feel like it's a nice design. Let me move on to the top part of the chimney. It's slightly different colors with how the dark wood and marble play into each other, but for the most part it's kind of the same. There's some fences in there, same cobweb theme, and I'm making sure to make all the smoke blow the same way because wind only blows one direction. Moving on to the final structure that sits upon our fortress. This will be what the main cannon will sit on. This structure itself will also have many other cannons that are a lot smaller, similar to the size of the other cannons already in the build, facing the directions that are not yet covered by cannon fire yet. So this fortress will pretty much be able to shoot in any direction should an invading force attack in that direction. The design, though, on this part of the fortress for the cannons is very different compared to the other ones, mainly because it's not sitting on a rotating platform. Instead, ideally, what it will be able to do, that slot, it will rotate up and down, so you can either shoot down at ships or up at an invading airship and shoot it out of the sky. However, they don't rotate left to right, so you better hope they're right in front of that gun. And then finally, moving on to the last section, which is this dome, half dome. No, that is a dome, which will eventually become our main cannon. Now, to get this sphere effect, I went ahead and referred to Minecraft circles diagram, and then I outlined it and then began to work my way inward, which I'm doing right now to try to maintain that sphere shape. Now I begin to carve into this dome, and this is where our main cannon is going to be resting. Unlike the other cannons in the build, this one is a 2x2 instead of a 1x1 to emphasize that this is a big frickin' gun. You may have noticed that the end of our cannon has a messed up barrel, I guess it's called. I'm not sure what that hole is called on a cannon, but because of the hatches, it looks weird. I did notice it, and I was able to correct it in the end. And with that, we have finished the fortress of our steampunk city. You can see it is just loaded with cannons on all sides. If any force try to attack this thing, they're getting destroyed. With that, we are finished with the fortress part of the build, and now we're moving on to the market part, where we gotta go ahead and finish up building our market, because 3 buildings is not enough. We need a little more than that. Because it is still the market, I want to repeat the theme of having the overhanging top floor that we already had established on the previous build. And I'm going to try and keep these buildings somewhat similar to the ones we designed in the past build, because I want you to be able to identify that these are indeed market stalls. So, or not market stalls, but shops. So I'm going to reuse that theme of having these large display cases where the shop owner will be able to display their wares. So if this is an armorer, you're going to see armor stands in there. Or if it's a gardener, you'll be able to see, you know, flowers and whatnot. The reason we're using those smaller windows is because, you know, the top floor is a residential floor. So you don't want those large intrusive windows having, you know, passerbys be able to spy on you when you're, you know, using the bathroom or just sleeping. That's just not practical. And the roof, we're just sticking with the oak wood and having the slowly escalating roof to give a sort of steampunky peak effect that we've done in all the other buildings that have roofs. So what I end up doing is I will copy this building and I'm going to paste it over to the left one, and then the 3 other structures are going to be smaller as in lengthwise. So I'm just going to cut off some of the building and paste the side on to get a completed structure. And with all that done, you can see the completed market district. You can see the signs hanging down, showing what the shopkeepers are selling. You can see inside the display cases saying what they're selling if you don't feel like reading the sign. So now our market district or districts are finally complete, along with the fortress that protects our steampunk city. I'm not quite sure what we're going to build next time, but if you like this video, drop a like. If you want to see more, subscribe, and see you guys next time. Bye.